All right, YouTube, I got a quick one for you today. Why am I hard on Canelo? Right? I get accused of being a Canelo hater. Okay, look, it really isn't about Canelo. Okay, it's about the path of destruction that I believe his legacy will leave behind in boxing. Okay, basically, we got a false narrative that I think a lot of boxing fans use when they talk about Canelo's resume, when they talk about legacy, but they kind of ignore the elephant in the room. Okay, just stick with me here. Trust me. Okay, bias judging, establishment fighter, Vegas cash cow, the obvious protected class become completely normal in boxing, right? That's why it is so incredible when I see these guys getting knocked out, kind of like Anthony Joshua. That's how you defeat that protected class. So now, Canelo, let's get real here. A great boxer. To be honest, not a bad person. I've met him countless times, okay? The last time I was with Canelo in person, he was praying for handicapped people. It wasn't for the cameras. He donated a bunch of money to him. I had a chance to talk to him, and he does understand English. I don't care what anyone out there says because I spoke to him in English, and I have like 3 or 4 times, and he speaks English as well. Just not in front of the camera. So, but basically he's become a walking, talking ATM machine. So my problem isn't necessarily with Canelo. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. We'll figure it out. My problem is with the irreversible intellectual damage his legacy will leave behind, okay? It's become normal to rob people. In fact, we totally expect it now, okay? We know if a fighter can make it 12 rounds, they're going to get the decision if they're an establishment fighter, okay? Boxers like Canelo have basically set a new standard in boxing. It's become the new model, right? The model for all the upcoming fighters to follow, just like when Mayweather did it. And look what happened. I mean, people didn't think there would be any consequences or repercussions after Mayweather. Look what happened. And historically, it wasn't always like this. Correction, it was not always like this. And that's another argument I hear. Yes, there was always corruption in boxing, but nowhere near what it is today, okay? And it's because of boxers, okay, and Canelo and the people around Canelo. Okay, you can't just blame Canelo. Like I said, you got to really dig deep here. Okay, and I think boxing will never be the same. Okay, I'm not saying change is a bad thing, because change is totally, completely necessary on any platform. But when certain change is geared towards the elite protected class, it's not good for boxing. I mean, so like I said, damage beyond repair at that point. So that's my problem with Canelo. And be careful what you wish for, because if this continues, boxing will be dead. Where are we going to go after this? I mean, what if DAZN just tanked? Where do we go? It's done. Game over. Maybe another app will pick it up, whatever, but it's basically over if we don't get it right this time around. Like, our generation of boxing is probably one of the most important generations, and we've got to get it right, okay? Gennady Golovkin, anti-establishment. Okay, going back to Felix Strum, or his original promoter, or basically being benched during his prime, meeting up with Abel Sanchez, becoming the most avoided fighter in the middleweight division. The list goes on and on and on, but we're not going to talk about Gennady Golovkin. We're talking about Canelo. Okay, we're here to talk about him. Look, guys, I get a little bit sidetracked, guys. Sorry. So, but look, I mean, but let me touch on that real quick. I think Gennady Golovkin feels like he was screwed over, and he was. And in fact, I'm going to make a video of what should have happened in his career. But back to Canelo. I think when Canelo lost to Mayweather, right? When I think he lost to Mayweather, he kind of became that Vegas cash cow. Everything was geared, in his favor. I mean, it's undeniable, right? Completely undeniable. So let me go over a few things. Let's just go over a few problems I have. Okay, if you look at Canelo's resume at face value, okay, it might be considered one of the most impressive, maybe the best resume in current boxing. But if you're being honest about the quality of opponents and when and where did he fight them, it starts to diminish. His resume starts to fall apart. 90% of the boxing media, okay, including the Hispanic media, had Triple G winning the original fight. Most people had the rematch a draw. Amir Khan should have never happened. Cotto, your typical Puerto Rico versus Mexico, was all about money. Cotto was old, okay? He kicked off his career at a 155-pound catch weight that was completely unnecessary. Okay, there was no reason for that catch weight. Pulling up Lopez, unnecessary. Irislandi Lara, I believe, was a draw. Had trouble against Austin Trout. Okay, resumes based on quality, not quantity. Okay, just look at Loma, right? And then people want to compare Triple G with Canelo. When we're talking about Canelo, we're not talking about Triple G, so I think that's kind of an easy out for the Canelo boxing fans. Triple G wasn't given the same opportunities, so of course his resume isn't going to look as good. PEDs, right? You know, they say, if you see 2 roaches in the kitchen, you got 100 in the walls. So what do we not know about his history with PEDs? I mean, if you got busted once, then there had to have been other times that we don't know about. The Kovalev fight, dude, that fight, oh my God. The Kovalev fight was literally the worst fight I've seen in the past 10 years, okay? Snubbing the WBC when it suits him, vacating belts, not defending titles, biased judging. I mean, come on. CJ Ross had Canelo winning against Mayweather, 118-110, Adelaide Bird, okay? Protected establishment fighter, Vegas cash cow, highly protected. Okay, now he is using different divisions as escape routes, but claiming he's doing it for legacy when we know it's just another way to duck the real competition at any and all given, or at any given division. I mean, he can make whatever division he wants. He can pick from like 3 or 4 divisions, so he should be fighting the best of the best. If you have that many available options, you should be fighting the best, right? Because look, if you're bound to one division, I can understand if the landscape isn't right and you have to take a keep busy fight, I get it. But, you know, when you can make anything from 160 to 180, you got a ton of options. So that's what I don't understand. He'll probably fight Billy Joe Saunders next, okay? A fight that absolutely nobody wants to see, okay? And it'll probably be at a catchweight or maybe 168. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, that would be my guess as of now. So, you know, like I said, when you look at it at face value, it looks impressive. But when you start to take it apart, when you start to dissect his resume, it falls apart. Rehydrating at 185 against middleweights who can barely make 170, you know, on fight night. Oscar De La Hoya said he wasn't ready for the middleweight division, but then he goes on to fight Chavez at 164.5-pound catchweight. Shane Mosley, just another example of 3 or 4 guys Canelo fought that was damn near 40. Illegal hand wraps, becoming the WBC franchise champion in order to duck the real competition. But you know, keep that clout. You know, you can keep that WBC clout, but you can easily avoid the real competition. Okay, losing the IBF, internal fighting at Golden Boy, last minute rehydration clause like he did with Daniel Jacobs in the IBF. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Let's talk about the Canelo fans. Okay, I think a lot of them have been brainwashed, right? Completely brainwashed, or maybe they know the truth and they don't think it's a big deal, okay? And a large percentage of his fans are fanatical. I mean, seriously, like they have a disorder. Some of you Canelo fans out there, like, you guys, man, you need to get your act together. Like, you guys are getting a little crazy, like for real. And you guys should know, but look, let me switch gears. I am very passionate about boxing. It literally saved my life, okay? Maybe one day I'll explain how, but trust me, boxing is very important to me, incredibly important to me, and you know, it's being changed. I think it's being changed forever, and all the wrongdoings in the past, you know, maybe 4 or 5 years, it's going to be irreversible, and that's what you guys understand. You're playing with fire here, okay? But seriously, and I don't expect Canelo fans to change overnight, but I mean, don't be afraid to, you know, step outside of your bubble. That's what the video is for today. You know, it's to try to encourage, you know, Canelo fans to understand the damage that you're causing right now. Like I said, we are at the end of the line here, at the end of the road, people. If we don't get it right this time, boxing is dead. And ultimately, the question is, how much of this is Canelo actually responsible for? Is he a victim of boxing corruption and politics? I mean, you know, that's the main question, right? I mean, how much of Canelo's legacy has been, you know, of his own personal control, and how much was, you know, orchestrated by politics, Golden Boy, things like that? Just a lot of big questions that we don't really have the answers to. I mean, I think we do, but because, I mean, like I said, I believe Canelo is totally in charge of his career, especially at this point. So, I mean, he should be fighting the best. Like I said, he has multiple divisions he can travel to. There should be no reason for him not to fight the best, you know, so I mean, and again, it doesn't boil down to the landscape and the division or the availability. You know, I can even make a separate video, you know, talking about what Canelo should have done instead of what he actually did. So, I mean, there we have it. And that's one of the biggest arguments I hear from Canelo fans. They say, oh, well, this guy wasn't available. That guy wasn't available. It's bullshit. Like I said, I'll make a video completely destroying that argument. So that's just a part of my problem is I don't think you guys understand the damage that it's causing to boxing. I mean, it's like we have one more chance to get it right. We do. And now you have these, like I said, these upcoming fighters, and they're all, I mean, look at, what's his name? Wow, I just drew a blank. Garcia, right? I mean, I think he's going to follow Canelo's path, right? Follow in his footsteps, Ryan Garcia. And I can almost guarantee you, he's not going to fight the elite top level tough competition. He's going to take that easy route. He's going to build up his resume. He's going to have a great team behind him, basically justifying every mismatch that we get. They're going to pay him $100 million. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya is already bragging about how he's going to get him $400 million. Oh, I got Canelo 3, whatever. I'm going to get him $400 million. And you are paying for it. This is what I don't understand. You guys are paying for this, I mean, there isn't any other boxer that I can think of today that has so many question marks, next to his resume. There really isn't. So it's not hating on Canelo. I like Canelo. I think he, and I also want to say that this is probably one of the most important points of the video I want to make. If Canelo did face the tough top competition, even a prime Gennady Golovkin, he had a damn good chance at beating them. Not him, Golovkin, them, all of them. Okay, a damn good chance. I think if he would have fought Mayweather a couple years later, he may have won. Who knows? I mean, so he's an incredibly talented, gifted, A-level boxer. But unfortunately, I think he's had the wrong people behind him, and now his resume, it falls apart. I mean, I've even heard like hardcore Mexican, Hispanic, the Hispanic community boxing fans, shred his resume. And it does speak volumes when you have this, huge Hispanic, portion of boxing fans that they're not Canelo fans. They supported Gennady Golovkin. I mean, I've been to the fights. I've been to the press events. You have, a sea of people all supporting Gennady Golovkin. I mean, Canelo even being booed at a lot of events. I mean, it's crazy. Meanwhile, guys like Chavez, they're complete champions, right? They're just like the people's champ. They love them. I mean, and it's just changed. It's completely changed. And like I said earlier, I feel like we're getting to a point to where it's damaged beyond repair. It's just, we're not going to be able to repair this. And I know you're probably thinking, okay, being a little dramatic there, aren't you? Well, no, I'm not. I mean, I'm predicting that this can, I'm not going to say Canelo single-handedly can destroy boxing, but he is the biggest boxing star on the planet right now. Who's bigger than Canelo Alverez? Anthony Joshua? No, it's Canelo. And why do you think we don't have crossover fans? I mean, if you look at the numbers, people that support boxing are people like you and I. We support boxing. And if we go away, who's left? Even DAZN, okay, they're having a hard time right now. Why do you think they did KSI Paul Logan? They're talking about another fight with Paul Logan and some of their YouTube guys. It's because they're dying. Okay, they're paying these guys way too much money. Their fees are way too high. And it seems like I'm the only guy in the room that is, I guess, brave enough to tell you the truth. Because a lot of these guys, they're pandering for press creds. They're pandering for, ranking in the media. And I don't care about that. I really don't. I truly, truly don't. I run my own business. I make plenty of money. I don't need to do this. I do this because I love it and I'm passionate about it. And what I see happening is, big establishment fighters literally killing boxing. Who's texting me? Oh, that's my friend. So, I don't know, guys. On that note, I'm probably going to end it. I mean, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think Canelo has been good or bad for boxing? And of course, there's been some good things about Canelo. I was about to end it, but I just caught myself. I don't want to just, rag on. Yes, he's brought in new fans, made a ton of money, things like that. But you have to weigh it out. You have to, or at least at a bare minimum, you have to be honest about his damn resume. Okay? At a minimum. Like we just went through it earlier. I mean, I can go through his entire resume and there's a question mark next to 90% of the names on his resume. So I'm just asking you guys, just like I said, be careful what you wish for, open your eyes, think outside of your bubble, and be honest, when you're talking about Canelo. So what do you think? Leave it below.